millions of our people around the globe love Brother Marcus Garvey. Millions of our people around the globe were directly impacted and love the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. But ironically, there's a brother who predates both Marcus Garvey and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Yes.
And it seems like we don't know enough about our ancestor, referred to as Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Could you tell us why this brother is important? What he gave to us?
Prophet Noble Drew Ali, in his teaching, is demonstrating that our people in America are the true cornerstone of the true new world here in America. The true new world. See, what people know as the New World today got started in 1492. That was the beginning of the process. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
A man named James Reston Jr., he wrote a book called The Dogs of God. And in that book, among other things, he demonstrates the direct connection between these things: the fall of the Moors in Spain, the climax of the Reconquista, in other words, Europeans reclaiming and repossessing Europe from us. 3, the foundation of the first modern nation state, which was Spain, through the marriage of Ferdinand and Isabella, 2 kingdoms, the kingdom of Aragon and the kingdom of Castile. Why? To unify against our forefathers. 4thly, the acceleration of the transatlantic slave trade. And 5thly, the so-called discovery of America. All 5 of these things are wrapped up together in the year 1492. And so that was the beginning of the New World idea, or the process that would culminate in the New World idea. Ali is demonstrating, or his teaching lays the foundation for the fulfillment of the actual New World and our role in it.
To make sure that the listeners understand, I want to try to really encapsulate when Noble Drew Ali came and he set up in Newark, in the Newark, New Jersey.
Yes, sir.
And his teachings came out.
Yes,
and he
sir.
had meetings. How did Black people, or the people there, change what habits changed? What things did they do differently as a result of his presence and teaching?
I'm glad you said that. Newark, New Jersey, the Newark, New Jersey period was the early period of his mission, and he had some difficulties. He had difficulties. A little bit of history that a lot of people don't know. That again, and when I mentioned, I'm a member of a research team of Moorish Americans called Ali's Men. And so when I say something as a matter of historical fact, we can back it up. We can show you definitively. So that being said, he had a lot of difficulty in Newark, New Jersey from the years 1913 to the years around 1919, 1922, right? And one of those difficulties, to be honest with you, was our people's refusal or reluctance and refusal to give up the European ideal of Christianity.
It sounds like he's talking about 2019.
Actual fact. And see, it's deep because, watch this, bro. Noble Drew Ali said, "We as a clean and pure nation descended from the inhabitants of Africa do not desire to amalgamate or marry into the pale-skinned nations of Europe, neither serve the gods of their religion. Therefore, we are returning the church and Christianity back to the European nations as it was founded by their forefathers for their earthly salvation, while we, the Moorish Americans, are returning to Islam as it was founded by our forefathers for our earthly and divine salvation." We're not talking about quitting a church. Prophet's not talking about quitting a church. He's not talking about, oh, well, I'm not going to honor the teachings of Jesus. First and foremost, Jesus and Christianity are not synonymous. European psychology made them synonymous. You understand?
Yes, sir. Explain that, brother, please, quickly. Yeah.
Well, right off top, the foundation, Noble Drew Ali teaches us in chapter 46 of the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, the foundation of Christianity started in Rome. It didn't start in Palestine. It started in Rome, 325 AD with Emperor Constantine and the Council at Nicaea. They made certain decisions that became the norm for modern day Eurocentric Christianity. One of those being that Jesus was never married. Another one was that Jesus didn't have a earthly physical father. These were decisions that were made at that council.
That's right. That's historic. That's a matter of historic record.
Yes, sir.
Just so
Yes.
you know. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? But now what happens with our people, especially some of our super woke people, is we recognize, or we may have an inkling or an idea that those things were not authentic as it relates to Jesus. So we throw the baby out with the bathwater and say, well, Jesus didn't exist. Well, okay, the reconstituted ideal of Jesus, aka Caesar Borgia's image, right? You're right. That didn't exist. What Noble Drew Ali is doing with his teachings, among other things, is bringing us back the proper narrative of Jesus. Why? Because is that person important? Sure. But what's more important is the pattern that he represented. When we find out, coming up, oh well, all the things that are said about Jesus, can be also said about Zoroaster, can be said about Osiris or Osar, can be said about these things, and that's misinterpreted to discredit a historical Jesus. No, what that does is it validates a historical Jesus, because we're talking about somebody who embodied a pattern that goes back to ancient Kemet. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
The pattern that's important. When we talk about picking up your cross and following Jesus, it means follow the same pattern. See what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That's all. In the face of the oppressors, Buddha laughed at his oppressors while he lay dying, and Jesus wouldn't stay dead at all. You see what I'm saying?
Yes,
So that's the idea. It's the pattern is to inspire you to do, as Jesus said, greater things than him.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying?
I got you on that one, good brother.
Yes,
and we definitely thank you for some of the clarity on that. Why do you think that we know so much about Marcus Garvey and, let's say, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad,
yes,
and so little about Noble Drew Ali? Was that some type of conspiracy? Is that deliberate?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. The whole, our number one issue is identity. That's the number one, that from a social perspective, from an economic perspective, from a cultural perspective, spiritual perspective. Noble Drew Ali taught through sin and disobedience, every nation has suffered slavery. The difference is that we have been forced by society to wear the brand and label of it. When you see our brothers in the corner stores, respect to them. When you see our brothers in the corner stores from the so-called Middle East, the fact that they have dark hair, listen to what I'm saying. The fact that they have dark hair is a badge of slavery, but the other way around. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But society does not require or compel them to talk about how they were brought in by people that look like you and me as slaves.
Right.
You see? Only our people in America and in other parts of the world, you see, are labeled with something that connotes slavery. And we're expected to wear the label proudly. But anyway, back on the topic, right? He says, through sin and disobedience, every nation suffered slavery. That's not to diminish our slavery and what happened to us at all.
Mm-hmm.
What it does do is it demonstrates, our issue really being identity crisis. Our issue really being identity crisis. The Japanese went into internment camps during World War II and came out Japanese. Mm-hmm. See what I'm saying? So the Jews in the Babylonian captivity went in Jews and came out Jews. But to quote our brother Malcolm X, we went in kittens and came out biscuits. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That's the real issue. You want to talk about the real reason why it's difficult for our people to organize. That's why. Because organization is generally always based on, especially in America, it's based on national identity. That's what it's based on. You see? You know, the Palestinians, the Yemenis, and all of them, man, they fight like cats and dogs amongst each other, but they join collective hands to put a collective foot in our economic backsides in our own neighborhood.
Yes, sir.
See what I'm saying? It's because they have that love for each other, because when they see themselves, they're connected to a proud, distinct history that sets them apart from everybody else.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And they love each other because they love themselves. We've been taught to not love ourselves. So if I don't love myself, when I see you, you know, it's about the pop when I see you. And that describes our situation. That describes how we have so many organizations and no organization, no real ability to organize, you know? And so that being said, there's a benefit to Euro-American society and to the status quo in American society. There's a benefit of keeping a people that are 98% consumers in and spend over $1 trillion annually. There's a benefit to keep us from organizing. Nationality is about the ability to organize. It puts the ground floor of organization under our feet. That's why you don't hear about Noble Drew Ali. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That's in a simple, you know, that's why. That's why. The Nation of Islam does a powerful job of representing a lot of the key things that the Prophet Noble Drew Ali taught in action. In action. But here we go. The Nation of Islam teaches separation. Euro-America loves that.
Brother, please, yeah.
Euro-America loves that because, again, like I was saying before, the primary objective of racism is to preserve the battery as a battery, not to throw away the battery, but to preserve the battery as a battery. When the battery starts trying to act like the appliance, that's when that's when status quo has an issue. You see?
Mm-hmm.
The objective of the Moorish Science Temple of America, it says to uplift fallen humanity and to teach our people the things that would make better citizens out of men and women. Now, mind you, this was in 1928, when the common talk in Euro-America is that you can't be a citizen, and at best, you're only a second-class citizen.